So I'm Robin Thomas. I'm from Stanley's Community Centre, which is based in the West End of Morecambe. Food has always played a massive part in the sessions that we deliver due to the high levels of food poverty. I don't need to tell anybody here about the different cases, but it is really quite bad within our area. When I joined Stanley's 10 years ago coming up, I actually saw one child rocking with hunger, and it totally shook me and made me want to ensure that food was never an issue. It wasn't going to be a barrier, and we'd always try to break the barrier and supply food where possible. So during all of our sessions, we offer food to young people in various forms. We've done loads of different projects around food, delivering food. We have taught people cookery skills, basic level, and we've given lots of young people transferable skills. Some of our young people have featured as their recipes as well that they created or co-created with us. And they've gone into cookbooks, which is really good, and have been given out across Lancashire. Going forward, over the next 12 months, we'd like to obviously get back into a position where we're bringing people together around food through community meals, through the meals that we offer for families. At the moment, this isn't possible, and all we're maintaining at the moment is the food pickup service, which is based at Stanley's on a Tuesday evening. Now, at the moment, we've got 90 spaces available there, but we're working in partnership with Egg Cup, with the shop in the West End, which is based on the corner of Claremont and Albert Road. If anybody knows anybody who wants to make any referrals to the Egg Cup shop, please get in contact with either David via the website or myself, and I'll make sure that my details are made available to everybody.
So I'm just going to introduce the Lancaster District Food Poverty Alliance. So the Alliance first met in June 2018, and they bring together organisations and individuals who work towards the common aim of ensuring that all residents have access to affordable, nourishing food. So over the past year, we've been working on a report and an action plan for the Lancaster district. And we're able to kind of launch that this evening. So you'll be receiving a link to that within the chat and by email after this session. So the Alliance have identified these priority areas, which we'll be talking about in the breakout room later on. But for now, we have 3 Alliance members who are going to talk to you about what being part of the Food Poverty Alliance and having an action plan means for you. And first up, I'm going to ask Dusty to answer that question.
Good evening, everyone. I'm coming at this angle from both the Poverty Truth Commission and as a lived experience person. I have had to use food banks in the past, and I am still a member of a food club at the moment, which I don't think I could manage without. So being part of the Poverty Truth Commission, food poverty was a common theme all the way through. So for us to have been involved with the Food Poverty Alliance over however long now, because Ali used to come regularly and I've been coming regularly more recently, it's really great to see so many organisations all getting together, because we're very much about a community approach in how we can solve problems, and to actually come up with an action plan that everybody's agreed on and everybody wants to move forward with is absolutely excellent. And the more cohesion we can get and the more we can get with working together, joined up working, not duplicating, and partnership working, all the better. I said I'd keep it short and sweet for you, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Dusty. Next up, I've got Annette from Morecambe Bay Food Bank. Good evening, Annette.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It is nice to see so many people here tonight and taking an interest. So my name's Annette Smith and I'm the manager of Morecambe Bay Food Bank, which started back in 2012 when we identified that there was a large need of support needed for food poverty within the area. And even at that stage, when we were looking at setting it up, it was evident that it needed to be collaborative working, because it was we were talking to other schools and things like that were having to face it all on their own. So at least now we're able to work together. And what's happening now with the network has grown considerably, with lots and lots of different providers from different reasons and the background of it. And I think now that we've all managed to get into the same room or the same Zoom, whatever you want to call it, it's only for the best. You know, we're now going to be developing this network, and it's only going to be for the benefit of our community.
Thank you, Annette. Everyone's keeping them short and sweet this evening, which is nice. I'll have more time for discussion. And finally, I've got David from Egg Cup to speak to you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'd mirror Annette's comments there. It's great to see so many people here. That's fantastic. Yes, my name is David France. I'm the manager of Egg Cup. Egg Cup started in its current form just over a year ago now. And the idea was to create like a food surplus distribution kind of warehouse hub type model that could support many of the other kind of smaller community food initiatives in the Lancaster district. Since then, we've actually started our own membership scheme, and we work with people in the district that are perhaps on low incomes or might be struggling financially. We make sure that they have access to affordable food each week from two outlets. The Food Poverty Alliance has been really, really useful for us. It gives us a great opportunity, I suppose, to learn and to share things with partners across the district. And it's a good forum to actually, I think, to build those relationships with other people and with other organisations that are doing fantastic things. Because ultimately, if you do want sort of real partnership working, it all comes from those relationships, and it comes from building that trust across the community. So I think for me, that's the kind of the number one thing why it's so important. It also gives a really good opportunity for any kind of interested people or interested stakeholders in this thing to make their voices heard and to be able to bring their views and their thoughts to the table and get them seen by others that are in this field. And that's also useful for actually bringing the views of, I think, you know, the communities, because many of the groups that are involved actually have sort of members or people that are involved with their community groups, and so, you know, they can almost act as a voice on their behalf, which is fantastic. The action plan is really important. I think that it's going to give us the ability to kind of really focus on what we're going to do. In a weird way, it almost kind of forces collaboration sometimes, because, you know, we do need to work together to meet these goals, and it's going to allow us to kind of measure our progress against that. So I think I'm really looking forward to starting to get stuck into making this action plan a reality.
Thank you very much, Dusty, Annette, and David. I will hand over to Robin.
Hello. So we're now going to move on to a presentation by Anna Clayton.
So I'm only going to say something very short, and then I'm going to hand over to Anne Chapman. So tonight, the theme of the conversation is around food poverty and access to healthy food. And we have an excellent strategy that's been created by the Lancaster District Food Poverty Alliance. And as that strategy is going to feed into a wider food strategy that's being coordinated by Food Futures. So my name's Anna, and I coordinate that partnership. And I really wanted to just offer reflection, actually, because a lot of tonight will focus on what's happening locally and around emergency food support, and that's so important, and I don't want to take anything away from that at all. But I also want to just build connections. So a lot of the food we eat is not grown locally, it's traded from other countries, and often the food isn't sold at a price that covers the cost of its production. So us here in the UK often result in the true cost of that food being pushed back down the supply chain at the people who grow the food. So we may be able to access food here or may not be able to, which is the discussion tonight. But also that has implications on people down the supply chain. And just as examples, in Andalusia right now, you can find examples of modern slavery within the Spanish. Huge areas of cultivation that often supply the veg to supermarkets in the UK. Slave ships were found within the Asian area, supplying shrimps again to supermarkets. And within the cocoa supply chain, there are still lots of examples of child labour. And so I just wanted to build that connection that what we pay for our food here also has implications on poverty down the supply chain. And Anne's going to talk a bit about the implications on the food system for farmers here in the UK as well. So I'm just going to hand over to Anne now.
Hi, so my name's Anne Chapman. I live in Lancaster, but I'm involved in a think tank called Greenhouse, and I've been working on a project about a just transition in agriculture. And so as you know, farming since the Second World War has really been focused on maximising output, increasing yields. This has been, you know, this is the drive of a lot of government policy. And farmers have done this mainly through increasing their inputs, so fertilisers, pesticides, medication for animals. And this has caused pollution of water and air. We've got pesticide contamination of food and also loss of wildlife from the countryside. So it hasn't really been good for anybody except the big companies that sell all this stuff to farmers, and probably for the big supermarkets that we end up buying the food from. So, you know, and because the supply chain upstream and downstream of farmers has become more and more concentrated and controlled by fewer and fewer companies. So that includes globally, there's only about 4 big traders that trade in grain, for example. We all know that, you know, over 80% of the food of people's grocery shopping in the UK is done at about, you know, 5 or 6 supermarkets. So farmers are in the middle of this, and they've seen their costs go up and the prices they're paid for what they produce go down. So many have gone out of business. There's been a real loss of jobs in agriculture. Others are still struggling to survive, particularly small upland farms around in the northwest England. So they're working long hours for little financial reward, or they have to find other sources of income, and farming becomes a part-time activity for them, whereas before their parents' generation could farm full-time and support a family. So that's just, I'll just put a link into the website for the web page that my report isn't quite published yet. I've just sort of, you know, virtually signed off today, so it will be up there soon. But there's, on that web page, there's a couple of things about possible futures for farming, like regenerative agriculture and farming for nature, which sort of moves the focus away from just maximising output to farmers minimising their inputs and trying to make a profit, or to doing things like conservation grazing, where the aim is to improve habitats for wildlife. And there's an interview there with Bill and Kath Grayson, who some people might know from Silverdale. So just, you can have a look at that website, and the report will be available from that shortly.
Because this topic is, I guess it is quite heavy. I mean, it's appalling that we still have any form of poverty within our local area or anywhere in the world, really. And so I want to just offer the chance to, I guess, to talk about the implications of poverty down the supply chain. So I'm just going to hand over to Anne now.
Hi, I'm Anne Chapman. I'm
think forward and to try and do that in a more hopeful light, and to think about what success looks like for this theme. So I want to just offer you the chance to go quiet, basically, but just to take in a couple of deep breaths if you want to, and just think about this vision of the plan. So it aims for us to work together to address food poverty and work to alleviate food poverty across Lancaster and the surrounding district. And I want you to, if you can, transport yourself forward 10 years to think about this plan has got an action for the next 5 years, and hopefully by working together, starting from everyone here today, we will get some way to achieving all of the key 8 actions within that plan. But what will success look like for this work in 10 years' time? That's the question I would like to ask. And I'm going to share a link in the chat. Oh, there are so many notes that you've all taken. It's right at the bottom of here. Here it is. So I'm going to share a link to Menti, and on that link you should see the question: if we were to hold a celebration in 10 years' time for everyone here today and the Lancaster District Food Poverty Alliance, what would we be celebrating? So what is success for this theme? What would success look like for the Lancaster District Food Poverty Alliance? And when you open that link, you should have the option to write some suggestions. So you can write it down and then press enter, and it will send your comment live to me, and I'll share my screen in a couple of minutes. And if you can't work out how to do that, that's completely fine. You can suggest comments into the chat, and Kiki has offered to put them into Menti for us. So I'm going to go quiet now and just offer you 5 minutes of silence, just for you to think through that question, and what does success actually look like for the Lancaster District Food Poverty Alliance. So there are lots of no more. So no more food banks. No child feels that going to the food bank regularly is normal. There's no need for a Lancaster District Food Poverty Alliance. We're no longer meeting mums who haven't eaten for several days. There are no feelings of shame about poverty, and no child in the district goes hungry. I'm going to share my screen now so you can see the ideas as they come in. So there's a lot of comments around people have communities of support around them, and they know where to go where they are in trouble, but they also know how to get out of crisis or trouble. Healthy and nutritious food is available for all people, whether that's to buy it, to grow it, or to choose it. We have partners working in collaboration to ensure there's a wraparound community of support. Socialist government is in there. A district-wide food structure with defined pathways to get the appropriate level of assistance for individual circumstance. There will always be a need for some sort of support, but hopefully the level of absolute crisis will be less. Yeah, a living wage for all, so addressing that bigger systemic issue. Food in shops is affordable for all, and healthy options mainly, primarily locally grown or produced. We have a rich and culturally diverse food culture. We have the ability to share ideas with lots of other groups and people. people being shocked or upset by food bank use. So I guess that's wider awareness, and not just awareness, but actually feelings associated to that awareness that maybe drive action. Vastly reduced need of food banks and food clubs. No longer talking to classroom assistants who have to check to around light lunch boxes. Yeah, thank you for sharing all of these visions of our celebration, and hopefully we can celebrate all of this in 10 years' time. And I'm going to stop sharing, and I just want to offer the chance, having heard all that, do any of you want to respond or give a comment, bearing in mind there's a lot of us and only a few minutes left, but does anyone want to respond to what they just read? I'll just look through all my screens to see if anyone has a hand up. Can't see anyone.
Anna Chapman's got a hand up.
All right, yeah.
And, yeah, just to say, I think there's already more than enough food to go around. We produce far more than we need. We eat far more, on average, we eat far more than we need. And the problem is the distribution, and that some people haven't got enough money. And, really, I think we ought to be campaigning for everybody to have enough money to be able to afford to buy a good quality diet. And, and other things like high rents, so if people's housing costs were reduced, perhaps they could afford to buy good food.
Yeah, that forces us to look at the bigger system and what's causing poverty in the first place, which is really important. Yeah. Does anyone else have a closing comment after seeing those visions? Yeah, Melanie.
I just suddenly thought, if people have got a garden, teach them how to grow their own food. I do have a garden and I do grow my own food, but it gives them physical exercise, mental exercise, and a good feeling that you put a seed in the ground and this is what you've got, and you've got cabbages, carrots, potatoes. One potato will yield at least 25 or so potatoes from one seed potato. It's the thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. And Emily, I noticed that you're having technical issues, so I'll just read out your comments so everyone's heard it. So for Emily, it's more partnership working and no one going hungry. Okay, if there are not any more comments, just scan my many screens again. No. I will hand back to Robin and just let whoever's sending the notes know. I'll share this Menti visioning thing with you all so that can be shared as well with everyone that's come tonight.
Yeah, thank you for that, Anna. One thing I think we wanted to achieve tonight is an idea of a pledge, something that we could actually take away from this and action on. So one thing that we've looked at is, during the community conversation, is there anything that you've heard that you feel that you now are going to implement in your own working place, or whether you're going to do it from home? And what can you pass on to other people? What has worked well through this community conversation? Something that could be improved on these type of community conversations. Maybe it's the way that things are fed back. Maybe it's the way that we have follow-up conversations. And we're looking at making a pledge now. Rachel, how are you wanting to do the pledge? Are we going to do it in the chat box, or are we just going to message back?
We have a form that we can use, and I'm hoping...
I've got possibly form.
Possibly form that Kirsty has quite handily popped it into the chat for us. So Those 3 questions that Robin has posed are on the form, and if you could fill those out, that would be brilliant. Thank you. And it will be emailed to
minutes
everyone
now, I think,
too.
to do that now. Yeah, are we going to do it now, or are we going to just email it out?
Either or, if you have the time to do it now and would like to within the session, as we've somehow managed to finish early, so we can all get 15 minutes of our evening. But whatever is your preference. But I would like to say thank you to everyone who's attended this evening. We will be sending out some follow-up information via email. If you want to get involved in the Food Poverty Alliance at all, I'm going to put the email into the chat, and I'd really love to hear from you. And I'll hand over to Robin for the close.
Yeah, I'm just going to close the meeting and thank everybody and give you one thing to think about. And that's the fact that food can be a vehicle for social change. It brings people together in a way that very few other activities can. Don't ever underestimate the power of food. Thank you, everybody. The next meeting is going to be on March the 18th. And the next community conversation is about fair work and well-being. And it'll be the same time, 6:30 on the 18th of March. Look forward to seeing a lot of you then.